What's going on, everybody? Let's talk a little bit more Phoenix Suns basketball because this offseason somehow isn't done just yet. They've already made a bunch of wild moves, and they're still trying to finish and fine tune this roster. And there's a couple names being tossed around that are pretty wild, but slim pickings this far into free agency, this far into the summer. The one that I want to talk about today, we've talked about they're in desperate need of a point guard at this point. They are staring down the barrel of Colin Gillespie being their starting point guard next year unless they decide to play Devin Booker out of position. They say in case of emergency break glass. Are we at that point where this team should honestly consider Ben Simmons? I think we might be, which is really scary. One, it says to how inept they've been at being able to solidify that point guard spot. And two, it talks about a little bit about the market, where they are with the salary right now. Ben Simmons has had maybe the strangest career of anybody that I can think of in the NBA. He was a max player, a guy that looked like he was arguably on his way to potentially a Hall of Fame type career. Elite wing defender for his size and length, a great passer in the open court, a guy that never really could shoot, but could still get to the rim and create. He was like a bigger, stronger version of Rajon Rondo. So what he was, could control the half court, could rebound. It was a guy that would always be right at the cusp of a triple-double. I mean, he was Jason Kidd, not quite as fast, couldn't shoot as well, but was bigger and probably a better defender. He was great. He was a guy that was deserving in getting the money and being a guy that was a max player. For the first 3.5 years, 4 years of his career when he was with Philadelphia, he was awesome. He was at that point averaging about 16 points a game, about 8 assists a game, about 8 rebounds, and shooting 55% from the field. That's worth it. That is a solid player playing alongside Joel Embiid at that point, Jimmy Butler. And then, as everybody knows, the strangest play that I think I can remember in basketball, where he gets it dumped down to him and he has a chance at dunking the ball. And I think they were down 2 at that point. And he gets spooked by a point guard that is tiny. I think might have been Trae Young, maybe. I forgot who exactly it was. And dumps the ball off rather than just dunking it on a guy that he had like a foot height over. And, gives it to Thibault, who ends up missing a little short jumper. And after that, Doc Rivers says that he's not sure he's a championship point guard. And you want to talk about a guy that his problem is between his ears. His confidence just has been rattled for years since then. Now, there's been some injuries and stuff like that, but he just has not been the same player and played confidently like he did before that, to the tune of now being unplayable, unsightable at times, and people keep convincing themselves that he is worth it. We run this cycle of him posting videos of him working out during the summer, and he looks good. He looks like he's in shape. He convinces some team to sign him, and then he's either hurt or just doesn't play. And then when he does play, you occasionally see flashes of the player that it was, but not nearly to the consistent level. And then this past year, he ends up going to the Clippers after he's kind of released and bought out from the Nets. The Clippers start playing him at center, and he's averaging 3 points a game, a couple rebounds, not playing sparingly, but now he's not even playing at point anymore. He's got the height for it. And if you have a guy that can pass like that, theoretically, maybe that would work. But he built his game and completely played differently than that, all the way through up. through into the NBA. Not exactly the most strongest supporting case for a guy to be your saving grace. But theoretically, in this situation, the Suns wouldn't be playing him at center. They'd be playing him at point guard. And the question is, can he give you 20 minutes a game? 20 minutes a game where he just runs the offense, plays a little defense at the point of attack, can get some rebounds, find some assists, and anything that he gives you scoring-wise is just, butter. But, you're not expecting anything out of that. Can he just get you started and facilitate some of these guys? Man, I don't like it, and yet there's almost no better names out there, especially for the price. This isn't going to be a guy that's going to cost them anything but a vet minimum, and they don't need to sign a guy for a lot of money and go over the salary cap into that second apron, into that first apron again. They want to sign a guy to 1.5. Which is crazy that Ben Simmons was a max player just 4 years ago, and that's where he's at now. But you can get him for that probably. Is he worth it? For the price, you're not really taking much of a gamble. Worst case scenario, doesn't work out. He just gets benched, and you end up playing Colin Gillespie the entire time. There's some magic still in there, right? There's got to be something. He's not old, and he didn't just forget how to play basketball. He just doesn't have the confidence in himself right now. It's a very low risk, potentially lightning in a bottle, high reward player opportunity, which is what he's been for the last 4 years, and every single time that reward hasn't been there. If there were other options available, I would say go with that. But there's really not. At this point, you got a couple of older guys still out there who you maybe could talk yourself into. Some of them are going to be costing too much money to kind of go after. So much of what their decisions are right now have to be built around the salary cap. And maybe you could go get a Malcolm Brogdon, but that's going to cost you a lot of money right now. Maybe you could get a Gary Payton II. That's probably going to cost you a lot of money right now. So what does that leave you with? Either you run with what you got, or you try to find someone for about this price tag. It's tough. It's tough. Part of me just says, go ahead and get some guy that you at least know what you're going to get out of him, and pay them, just a few pennies on the dollar, and just live with whatever kind of comes out of it. Maybe that's Patty Mills, a really older guy that could at least be the mature guy in the room. You know what you're going to get. It's not great, but it's not terrible. Part of me also says, if you're trying to lose games, Ben Simmons might be the guy that, if this blows up, maybe he's the good guy for it, but they don't even have their draft pick. So, that doesn't even play for them either. At the end of the day, I would close my eyes, hold my breath, and slide the contract across the table to him and just say, if this hits, it's incredible for us. If it doesn't, it costs us $1.5–2 million, and a roster spot for a while. Certainly the money, even $2 million, is wild to say that it's insignificant. But when you're Ishbia, that's not really anything to him. I wish there was a better name out there. I wish they weren't in this position, but they are stuck between a rock and a hard spot, and there's not many saving graces left. They don't have much money to work with to make it happen. They're running out of options. They're running out of time. And I think Ben Simmons might be their best chance at kind of solidifying that spot. It's not great. There's certainly no one out there that I would sit there and say, this is the perfect fit. This is exactly what they need right now. Maybe Josh Giddey. I actually really, really love that fit, but he's going to make so much more money than what they can give. So I guess this is it. Or you run with what you got. I'm really curious what you guys think. If they started the season, would you rather have Ben Simmons on the roster giving you 20 minutes and splitting time with Colin Gillespie, or are you at a point where you just say, give the keys to Colin and get out of the way and try and let him continue to develop and be the guy? I'm really nervous on this aspect of him being younger and kind of doesn't have the cachet and maybe the backbone to not deal with when he struggles. But there's going to be a lot of egos on this team. There's going to be a lot of guys wanting the ball that are going to be getting after him when they don't get it. There's just going to be a lot of mouths to feed, and you're going to have some fortitude to deal with that. And if he struggles, I mean, I don't think this team's going to be great anyway, but if he struggles, they're going to be in kind of right back where they were last year, where it was obvious the chemistry on this last year's team was about as toxic as you're going to find. It was bad. They did not like playing with each other. And now you hoped that the decks were cleared and that would be something that you would have to deal with. But there's a lot of pieces. There's the framework for that same type of problem to happen. But we talk about confidence. I don't know if Ben Simmons is exactly a guy that is going to come in and have the utmost confidence. I just feel like there's the potential of him hitting, which is the same thing, he's been selling for years. But if it does hit, this team, if he's able to kind of find a way to resurrect his career a little bit, he'd be the old player, and even if it's half of the old player, would be such a perfect fit for this team. Wing defender, could distribute the ball, could rebound, and a guy that's not looking to just jack up shots at the point guard position that would be able to find Booker and kind of facilitate for a lot of the scores that they have on this team. Seems perfect if they can get that. Will they get that out of him? Will they entertain that out of even him? Is he interested in the Suns? A lot of rumors for it, but the Suns rumored with a lot of people. Would the Kuminga thing even, that's crazy to me that he is being tossed around because, one, he's going to need a lot of money for whoever's going to kind of go after him. The Suns don't need to sign a guy like that. He's also going to be in a position that they have a surplus of. Why would you sign another shooting guard, small forward, when that's all this roster is right now? And that signing would almost for sure push you into the second apron again. None of that makes sense. The fact that they have actually a solid offer apparently on the table for him and he's a restricted free agent so the Warriors would have a chance to match is crazy to me. Unless that offers that minimum and they're just seeing if the Warriors are just sick of him and because obviously he fell out of the rotation with Kerr over there. But some of the moves have been befuddling that the Suns have made. If they go out and get Kuminga, some of the goodwill, some of the good faith that I've had in this new regime would be gone in a hurry. They need a point guard in the worst kind of way. And the Ben Simmons prototype is what they should be looking for. But it is hard to convince yourself that Ben Simmons is going to be anything other than what we've seen the last 4 years out of him. But it's also just hard to believe that the player that we saw for the 4 years before that is just gone. There's never been another case like this where a guy just lost his confidence and for 4 years was unable to find it again. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think it's Ben Simmons in case of emergency, break glass? Are we going Colin Gillespie? Would you want Kuminga? I don't want Kuminga at this point. Not that he's not good, but because it just doesn't make sense. There's a lot of questions and not a lot of time and not a lot of money. And boy, you got to figure something out. Let me know what y'all think.